Hello. So, the next reading we're on is Exodus 4 through 6, and this is the reading for January 31st. So, in here, we're at the part where God asks Moses to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let his people go. And Moses asks God, what if they don't believe him? Or, like, what if they don't believe that God sent him, being Moses? Like, what if they don't believe me? So God tells him to throw his staff. And once he throws it, it turns into a snake. So then Moses initially runs from it. And then God's like, well, grab the snake by the tail. And so he grabs it. And then the snake turns back into his staff. So he was like, this is cool. So then God also tells him to stick his hand in his pocket. And then once he pulls it out, it becomes a leprous hand. And so then he sticks it back in his pocket again. And once he gets it out, it's cured. So that's another wonder. So God is like, show Pharaoh these wonders. And he's like, there's one and two. Those are the first two wonders. But then the third wonder would be to take some water from the Nile River and then pour it on the ground. Once he pours it on the ground, it will become blood. So Moses does all this, and then he is telling God, like, hey, my speech is slow. So get somebody else to do it. And so that's when God came up with Aaron. He's like, well, Aaron, you tell Aaron what to say, and I'll help you both. And that seemed to be agreeable to Moses. Moses then goes up to his father-in-law and basically asks if it was okay for him to go back home. Raul, or the J word that they call him, I forget. It's like, sure, go home. I wish you the best of luck. So Moses is like, okay, cool. And then God also made note that everybody who wanted to kill Moses is now dead. And I don't know if you remember, he originally ran because he killed a man who was beating an Israelite. He ended up killing him and burying him, so he ran. The people who know about or knew about that are now dead. So Moses is in the clear to go back to Egypt. So Moses grabs his wife, his kids, and they go back to Egypt. And this is the part that I found peculiar, is that God told Moses to perform all of these wonders in front of Pharaoh. And then he says, I'm going to harden his heart. Like, then why he doing all of this? I just like, wait, what? And I thought back to one of the pastors spoke about, how God is the God of both sides. And so I guess this is an example of that. He's letting them know, like, even though I'm telling you to do all this, he's not going to let the people go after you do it, because I'm going to harden his heart. So he told Moses to tell Pharaoh Israel is his first son, and since he refuses to let them go, then he will kill his first son. And then from there, it kind of skips into Moses is about to die and God is about to kill him. And I got a little confused. I'm like, what did Moses do? Like, he just called this man to go into Egypt to get his people free. And then he's like, yeah, Moses is about to die. But Moses was saved because his wife circumcised their son and put the foreskin at Moses' feet. So essentially, God was like, you didn't follow the covenant, which was to circumcise your sons before 8 days, or at 8 days or something like that. You're supposed to circumcise the man. And Moses didn't do that. And God was getting ready to take him out of here. But he was saved by a woman. Look at God. So once his wife saves him from God's wrath, he meets up with Aaron. They discuss what God told them, and then they go and tell it to the Israelites, the elders of Israel, the elders of the Israelites. And then Moses shows them the wonders that God told him to perform in front of Pharaoh. They believed, bowed down, and worshipped. And then we go into chapter 5. So Moses goes up to Pharaoh and is like, hey, let these people go and give sacrifice to God. And Pharaoh's like, I don't know, God. No. I was like, what? Why would you say no? But I mean, he's like, no. Okay. They can get a day off to go, worship their God. But he's like, no. So Pharaoh's like, they got time to cry out to their God because they're lazy and they don't have enough to do. So he's like, let's make the Israelites make brick out of straw that they have to gather. Whereas before they would provide them with the straw, he's like, no, we're not doing that anymore. They're going to have to keep the quota of all the bricks that they had to make when we were providing the straw. They have to keep that same quota, but they need to provide the straw for themselves. So once the Israelites got wind of them needing to keep the same quota, and they were not meeting the quota, so it was a couple of days they didn't meet the quota, so the people started beating them. And they were like, listen, we don't want no parts of this. When you came around, that's when these issues started. Like, you the cause of this. We was better off, the way it was. And Moses asked God, like, why? Why did you have me come here if you knew that I was going to make the situation worse? Like, why? And God basically is like, I need to get the glory. Like, I need them to know that it was God's hand is the reason why they were freed and able to go into the land of Canaan. So Moses explained this to the Israelites, but they were not trying to hear any of that because of all the hard work they had to do since Moses showed up. So he asked God, why would Pharaoh listen to him being Moses, if the Israelites didn't even listen to him? Especially since he speaks with false lips. Again, he doesn't have much confidence in the way that he talks, in the way that he sounds. And he feels like because of this, they won't take him seriously and things that he has to say. And so from there, it provides the lineage of the Israelites, which is basically Jacob's kids again, but it goes into their kids and their grandkids. Like Moses' grandfather or great grandfather is Levi. He comes from the line of Levi, which is one of Leah's sons that Jacob has with her. So then it goes through that, so it lists a lot of names. And then Moses asked God again why Pharaoh would listen to him with his faltered lips. And that's where we leave off for that reading. As always, this Bible is good to me. And until next time, I'll see you next time. Bye.